Hi, this is Sherry Upton, and I am in Freedom of Expression class at Eastern Illinois University, and my professor is Dr. Hyder, and I am so happy to be a student at Eastern Illinois University. I'm a non-traditional student. I have my associate's degree in social work through Lakeland, and then I transferred to Eastern Illinois University, and I'm obtaining my bachelor's degree in general studies with a minor in psychology, and then I'm going on to get my master's in clinical social work. I absolutely love college. I absolutely love learning. I'm really enjoying this class. The book that we've been reading is Freedom of Speech in the United States by Thomas Tedford, and it is kind of like case law. Lots of Supreme Court cases and lots of information on the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and those sort of things. My topic today that I'm going to be sharing on is on the Magna Carta in English common law and the freedom of expression in the United States. The story of the Magna Carta is quite a phenomenal one. It is something that I had never heard of until I started researching it. I've done actually hours upon researching this topic because it's something I was not familiar with. Because this class is pretty much like a political law class, government, Supreme Court law, as if you're an attorney. And I'm not studying law, but I am going to be going to University of Simmons with Harvard for clinical social work, which I am so excited about. And I'm excited to be doing this YouTube video. And I hope that I give you some educational knowledge on the Magna Carta, English common law, and the significance and the impact that it had on our framers, on the building of our government and the liberties and human rights that we now are granted in America. And that is my hope, that I can give you some information, help you understand the Magna Carta, English common law, and a little bit more about how it influenced us toward having the freedom of expression in the United States. The Magna Carta was actually a charter of liberties. It was the first actual charter, ancient charter that goes back to 1215 in Runnymede, in 1215, there was a king named John, and he was a tyrannical king, and he was very abusive and usurped his powers against the nobles and barons and clergy. And he thought that he was above the law. He thought that he was supreme, and his ideologies and philosophies were that I am the ruler of the law, and regardless of people's rights. And there were a lot of people that were very outraged by this. A little story I'll share. There was, it says, on June 15th, 1215, a frightened, friendless, desperate man, King John, England's reigning king, slowly rode on horseback with Stephen Langston and Archbishop of Canterbury at the side, and Sir William Marshall, medieval England's most celebrated knight, behind him. King John was surrounded by a huge army of barons, and were demanding that he sign a royal seal on a wrinkled piece of parchment paper called the Magna Carta, or the Great Charter. King John nevertheless with hesitation agreed to honor its 63 clauses securing the king's obligation to fulfill the barons' demands, which included John's commitment to the legal rights under clauses 39 and 40. The celebrated clause of liberty was so huge. It basically stated in clause 39, no free man shall be taken or imprisoned or deceased or outlawed or exiled or in any way ruined, nor will we go or send him against him by lawful judgment of his peers or by the law, except by the lawful judgment of his peers, or by the law of the land. Clause 40 states, to no one will sell, to no one will we deny or delay right of justice. From that time that the rule of law, or the Magna Carta, or rule of law meaning constitution, from that time on to American Revolution to the present day, Great Britain and the United States have shared the idea of the rule of law. The Magna Carta serves as a constant reminder of the dangers of arbitrary government. It remains as an example of those countries of Britain and the United States, foremost among them, in whose constitutional development has been so influential. It serves to us as signpost to the nations and to the world of what can be when rulers are able to live under the rule of law. The Great Charter of Magna Carta had strong ties in common law by having such high importance for ensuring property protection, as well as notable trial by juries and the due process of law. The Magna Carta, the number one key component, states that the king is not above the law. The law is the rule of the land and not the king, which is awesome. There is a widespread opinion on both sides of the Atlantic that as the Magna Carta is to the British attachments to rights, the American version of this attachment is to be found in the U.S. Bill of Rights. Sometimes we hear more that not only the origin but also the substance of the U.S. version to be found in the Magna Carta. According to according to my research, despite the feudal language and medieval concerns that ran back during that time, the document there is something enduring that appeals to subsequent generations. The Magna Carta is in many ways a spiritual and legal ancestor of what we today call the rule of land. And a little bit about the rule of law in a journal article that I read by Matthew Spalding called The Rule of Law, the Great Foundation of Our Constitution. He states that it was 11 years after the Declaration of Independence and 4 years after the American victory over the Revolutionary War that a small group of delegates would convene in Philadelphia to create a new charter for governing a new nation. In order to comprehend this historic achievement, we must first understand that this moment in constitutional document that resulted built upon the great foundational principle of rule of law. The rule of law may be the most significant and influential accomplishment in Western constitutional thinking. The very meaning and structure of our Constitution embody this principle. Nowhere expressed yet evident throughout the Constitution, this bedrock concept is the first principle on which the American legal and political system was built. According to Matthew Spalding, throughout most of human history, the rules by which life was governed were usually determined by force and fraud. He who had the power, whether military strength or political dominance, made the rules. The command of absolute monarch and tyrannical despot was the rule and had the coercive force of law. Rulers made up false stories, inheritance, and rationalizations such as divine right to convince their subjects to accept their role without question. This is still, in many cases, many parts of the world where arbitrary rulings of the dictator were wrongly associated with the rule of law. And as time progressed, our framers inherited ideas from the English Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and eventually we adopted our own Bill of Rights and our Constitution. Thomas Paine once said, I love this quote, I love this, it says, "But where, says some, is the King of America? I'll tell you, friend, he reigns above, and doth not make havoc of mankind like a royal Briton. Yet that we may not appear to be defective even in earthly honors, let a day be solemnly set apart for proclaiming the charter. Let it be brought forth, placed on the divine law, the word of God. Let a crown be placed thereon, by which the world may know that so far as we approve of monarchy, that in America the law is the king, for as in absolute governments the king is law. So in free countries the law ought to be king, and there ought to be no other, but lest any ill should afterwards arise, let the crown at the conclusion of the ceremony be demolished and scattered among the people whose right it is." I just absolutely love that. I love this. I love all this research. I love the information that I've learned, and within our the influence of the Magna Carta and English common law fueled our framers to eventually form and produce their own Bill of Rights. And the very first Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, gives us the freedom of speech, and I'll share that with you. We have there's 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights, and it was actually added to the Constitution after the Constitution was made. And we can see how the Magna Carta and the rule of law was deeply implanted within the Bill of Rights, hugely influenced by Madison and our framers by establishing the Bill of Rights, because they believed in a government that was where the king was not supreme, and that the republic was for the people and by the people. The Bill of Rights were actually not for people. They were to set limits on the government so that the government could not infringe upon society, and society could be safe and have a government that is just and with due process. I have said a lot. I was wanting to share more about the Bill of Rights, but ultimately the Magna Carta and the English common law did lead our framers to write the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, which we had the First Amendment that grants us that freedom of expression. It is by knowing the story, the understanding the journey of the Magna Carta, the importance of that first charter, that led our framers to start our own written constitutions that would give us as Americans a government that is for the people and by the people, and not a government that's tyrannical and ruled by rulers, but rather ruled by the law. It's fascinating. It's awesome. This is Sherry Upton signing off. This has been fun. I hope I've given you some research on common law. Maybe I'll even do a part 2 tomorrow, just for fun, because there's more stuff I'd love to share on the Bill of Rights. And it's been a joy talking to you. I am glad you got to meet me. I'm Sherry Upton, and EIU student. Absolutely love Eastern. Absolutely love college. Absolutely love learning. Just a little plug-in for me. I'm the top 6 out of 2,000 in my graduation class, and I'm 45, and this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so I so love education. So for all of you out there, dive into those books, get to reading, learn, critical think. Education is awesome, and using our brains and learning expands us. We grow, and it's wonderful to learn about our liberties, our freedom of expression, our Bill of Rights, our Constitution, and I hope you've learned something from me. Have a good night. Thank you.